I thought industry needs to be much more competitive to go global. But Sanjay, from a manufacturing standpoint specifically, and we've already seen the government do its fair share in terms of promoting different sectors. Are you going in with any expectations, any clarifications that you would like the government to make?
Yeah, Shereen, from the auto component sector, we've seen a lot of disruption and a lot of opportunity for growth. But I think some kind of push in the rural industry would be great for us, because we've seen a major decline in tractors, CV. We're back in that down cycle. There's not enough happening on PLI, even though PLI has been announced and you discussed, Mukandan started talking about the PLI.
Yeah.
I think something to do with PLI where we actually see some kind of disbursement. It's been 2 years, there's been no disbursement, so there's a gap there. And then, of course, our continuous ask has been for a standard GST. And that's required.
The GST is not going to be addressed in any form or fashion in the budget. Of course, there is a need to look at rationalization as far as the GST rate structure is concerned, but that's a matter that will be considered by the GST Council and will not be up for review here in this budget. But let me bring Satish Reddy into the conversation. Satish, what's the expectation? As I said, there's talk around a new manufacturing policy for medical devices. There's, of course, this current impasse between rates and the Ayushman Bharat scheme, and there is a committee that's been set up to look into that, and there have been concerns raised by the healthcare operators. But overall, from a pharma and a healthcare perspective, what's the mood like? What are the opportunities that you believe industry wants to leverage, and what kind of facilitation do you require?
Sure. Certainly, I think there are plenty of opportunities, Shereen. So I'll start with the pharmaceutical sector because I'm more familiar with it. I think the theme has always been one of innovation, and we've been consistent about it for the past 5 years. And the expectation is, at least this time, it shouldn't just be an announcement. It should also be an intent to move the needle on innovation. Specifically, what we are saying is India has thrived being, an API manufacturer in the past.
Yeah.
It's also, done very well in generics. But when it comes to innovation, I think there's a lot of pitching in which the government has to do in terms of changing the entire ecosystem. And again, it's a lot of detail, I won't get into it. But we would like to see more of that happening, because there have been announcements being done in the past. NRF announcement of 50,000 crores. Yeah. There's this 1 lakh crore innovation fund coming in. But we would like to see the pharmaceutical sector R&D, if it needs to move the needle, what would actually enable that? So, that would be one big thing when it comes to pharmaceutical sector. Medical devices, obviously, there's plenty of opportunity, because one is on the regulation side, that there is a change that's expected to happen outside of the budget. But that would actually spur the industry quite a bit. There's a concerted effort to move the medical devices industry to also indigenize.
Are we likely to see consolidation play out more so in 2024 and 2025? Sanjeev Puri, there's been a lot of talk about conglomerates doing acquisitions in the space. Companies like yours have been out there picking up assets in the D2C space, for instance. But do you see 2025 to be a year of more consolidation? And do you think that there would be specific sectors ripe for that kind of consolidation?
Well, these are natural.
The cement sector, for instance, has seen a fair amount in the recent few weeks.
Yeah, these are natural processes that happen in businesses. There are cycles. So I won't pay too much of attention to that. Time to time they will happen. They are not linear. It's lumpy. When the opportunities are there, it will happen. So, but I think what I would really say is that you raised some point on private investment.
Yeah.
And I did hear some of my colleagues also say that it's happening. I just wanted to put a data to it. See, the private investment to GDP is now at 23.8%, which is higher than what it was pre-COVID. So investment is happening, jobs are getting created, and people are getting skilled. The point we are arguing really is about how to accelerate the trend, how to do more, because we also have a backlog of 2 years of the COVID period where all this didn't happen to catch up. The economy stalled, but people coming into the job market did not.
Yeah.
So how do we kind of accelerate? That's really the issue. And it's from that perspective that I think some of the suggestions and the next issues that have to be dealt with, like CB spoke about employment-related schemes, and then I think the big one also, CB also touched upon, is the big factor reforms. land, labor, agriculture, power.
But is there
So those-
expectation now on that front? Do you believe? I mean, with a
No,
full majority, we didn't move on that. Do you expect anything to happen now?
But look, if these are things that are required for the next journey of the economic transformation, so we need to find platforms and mechanisms to address it. These are issues to be addressed. So
Sure.
I think therefore we have to have a dialogue and discussion and see what is the best form of doing it. And it's ultimately in the interest of all stakeholders. What the last several years of policy making has proven is that investment-led growth, empowerment-led growth,
Yeah.
and a lot of reform that's happened in the center has taken us on a certain way, strong foundation. Now, a lot of the next set of things that have to happen lie at the intersection of center and state.
Yeah.
So they have to be addressed. And that is where the big opportunity for India is, and big opportunity also that is coming from the new geopolitical dynamic. So these are issues that need to be addressed, and we need to have dialogue and discussion and form consensus on it.
From a geopolitical standpoint, what's the expectation that industry has? Which of the blocks that you believe would make sense strategically for India to engage with from an FTA perspective at this point in time?
Yeah, Shereen, I think let me go back to the first point which I said, which is about that one of the key elements of our growth going forward should not just be domestic, but look at trade policy and engage in a way that we can make access to markets easy for our companies. And in that, I think FTAs play a big role. I think maybe some of these FTAs have taken longer than usual, but we've already signed with Australia, UAE. I think many more are in works. But we also need to sign it strategically where we can find markets. So I think already we have, for example, with Japan, Korea, engage more productively with those companies as well as the buyers in those markets to enable our companies go there. And really the opportunity, the way I see, the way Puneet has sort of spoke, is that India can build forward better because 60% of India is yet to be built.
Yeah.
And we need to build it sustainably. We need to build it with competitive enterprises and with skilled manpower. And finally, we have to do this in a very inclusive manner. I think that's what the budget should be looking at. All the building blocks, every year build a little bit more so that we reach that destination.
Well, speaking of building a little bit more, Mr. Sriram, as far as the agri-economy is concerned, and we've got various nuggets that have come in from many participants who've already spoken, but given where we find ourselves today, and I think the obvious one is the PM Kisan installments should be enhanced, at least indexed for inflation, etc. Outside of that, what are the specifics that you would like to see to take forward from what Mr. Mukundan said, and the government to build on as far as the agri-economy is concerned?
Thanks, Shereen. I think agriculture is where majority of India lives, and the requirement to put in effort to increase the income of people in the agricultural area is very crucial. I think one of the areas where this can happen very well and quick is by having a strong collaboration between corporates and farmers. I really think the 3 laws which were unfortunately shelved, they were good laws. They're good for the farmer. I'll give an example. We are in the sugar industry. We are seeing how 98% of the money we pay for the price of sugarcane goes directly to the farmer. There are no middlemen. So I think that's a great advantage. If one can have a tie-up for food processing in a structured manner with the farmers, and corporates have been told, should be told, you can't pay below the MSP.
Yeah.
You are assuring an income, and the second part of corporates getting involved, if I may take a second to give an example, we help the farmer grow sugarcane. Average yield is about 70 tons per hectare. We've had a farmer who had an output of 275 tons per hectare with a net profit of 6 lakhs per hectare. That's the collaborative effort which can go in. So I think there's a lot of work which can go on this side, which is good. One more area of agriculture, if I may say so, which requires attention, which Janmajay also mentioned, is the issue of water. I think water is being wasted. 80% of the water is used in agriculture. We need to have some pricing. Anything free is misused. So as a suggestion, now that we have direct benefit transfer going across, charge for the electricity used for water, pay it based on the electric pump used, rather than giving it free. We've seen in some states with electricity free and water free what's happening. I think we need to do something there also.
Let me get Swati Salgaonkar and Devjani Ghosh into the conversation. Swati, you've been, of course, dealing with what industry wants specifically as far as the Western region is concerned. Again, what are the pain points? What are the points of friction today that need to be addressed?
So I think something we've been looking at the Western region is actually inclusive growth and really looking at women in the workforce. And I think the interim budget talked about, certain incentives, although it wasn't very clear, it talked about women empowerment. And what we're really seeing is, we're looking at it at a holistic level. So in terms of education, how do you look at STEM education, in fact, for women? How do you get more women in those industries as well? But more importantly, how do you get them to stay in the workforce? Because I think while we talk about, what we want our GDP to be, if you see where we are in terms of women in the workforce, I think we're towards the bottom of the G20 countries. So that's really something we've been focusing on and looking at women in leadership as well. Now, this is not something that will directly be addressed by the budget, but I think it's time we started looking at it, at a broader level. Similarly, I think, Mr. Reddy spoke about innovation. That's something we're looking at as well, in legacy industry, because I think while the government, again, I think it was 1 lakh crore that was announced for innovation, but we really need to look at how this takes place, not just at a government level, but also at a corporate industry level as well. And there again, I think we're lagging way behind the rest of the world.
Kamal Bali, specifically from a perspective of EVs, etc., the FAME scheme, which is again up for renewal or review, what's the expectation? What is it that you would like to see the government do? We've also seen, some states consider moving on hybrids. A state like UP has already moved on that, even though the policy was rolled out in 2022, but has only now been brought into execution. What's the overarching message that industry wants to send out to the government when it comes to electric vehicles, hybrid technology, and the facilitation industry wants?
Shereen, if I were to step back and to say, what today is the biggest opportunity for India? To my mind, manufacturing is the biggest opportunity. Because also, if you look at it in perspective, manufacturing is still very small. We are only 16% of our GDP. And if you look at countries like Germany, Korea, China, Japan, these medium to large economies, it's manufacturing which has anchored these economies for a long time. So it's very important that India also gets... So what is it holding us back in manufacturing? Because the needle hasn't moved much over the last 15, 20 years on the share of manufacturing in our GDP. So I personally believe there are three things I think we need to look at. I think number one is the domestic ecosystem, where we are looking at ease of doing business, cost of doing business. There are a number of things which we need to talk about, whether taxes, simplification, dispute resolution, number of things are there. The second piece is firm level competitiveness, which is how can we make our companies competitive in this world. There are a number of things, and there I think CII can play a huge role in making, on a mission mode, taking these things to the MSME level and other things. And the third piece, which Mukundan also alluded to, is the global ecosystem, where we have market access, FTAs, brand India, all of that. I think if we look at in this, and I think this is a great opportunity. And just coming back to your question, very, very clearly, EV and India can become actually the manufacturing hub for green transition, because through green hydrogen, ammonia, electromobility, these are new areas where PLIs can come in, and India can take lead in some of these, and I think we can give a fresh look to manufacturing in our country. And I think manufacturing is going to solve many other related issues of employment, of skilling, of job creation, and all of that.